Nation. We're back.
Welcome back to another episode of Fire the Cannon. I am Rocky.
And I'm Megan, and we are Fire the Cannon. As y'all can see, hey, listen, we're on it with the cannon booms. We got everything going. As y'all can see, we have an incredibly special guest today. We are so excited to be joined by the legendary Ty Harrington. Ty, thank you so very much for joining Fire the Cannon. How you doing tonight?
Well, I'm fantastic. And look, I got to tell you guys, I appreciate you guys inviting me. I also apologize truly from the bottom of my heart for it taking a couple weeks to get this done. You guys have been incredibly patient. And I got to be honest with you, I'm also going to pay you guys a tremendous compliment from the get-go. My brother, Quan Cosby, and I, do a lot of different things. And I was like, hey, I'm going on Fire the Cannon. He goes, dude, you're going to love it. They are unbelievable. And so I'm going to, at that point too, I already knew, that this was going to be a lot of fun. And, but I did want to pay you guys that compliment too, because he was so complimentary to the both of you.
Oh, nice. We love Quan.
We do.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
I know.
He's a great guy.
Right?
I feel like that man, it is insane to me that he was just so effective on the football field. I mean, hell, with baseball too, right?
Yeah.
Because he's such a nice human, and then you see him on the field, and he's so competitive. You're like, this is a different dude. But he is.
How about would it be appropriate to call him the mayor of the University of Texas?
Absolutely. Listen, if what is McConaughey's official title? If McConaughey is the Minister of Culture, then Quan is for sure the mayor. There's zero question there.
Yeah.
So well, again, we truly appreciate you being here. Ty, you and I happen to run into each other because of Quan. We were up at men's basketball, perhaps not a great men's basketball game on that particular outcome, but we had a great time up there in the old Dell Lounge and got to know you, and you were so gracious with your time, so wonderful. You and I just got to chatting, and I said, man, it'd be great to have you on, and you jumped at it. So again, truly, we know that your time is valuable and precious. So we very much appreciate you taking the time out and joining us. It's just
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for a little background for those that don't know, of course, Ty Harrington. So you're from Pasadena, right?
I was born
lived there for a little bit, but moved to Waco pretty quick after that. Is that right?
Yeah. So the quick story is my dad was a college and high school football coach. So we bounced around a little bit. He was from Waco. And so we bounced around a little bit from Pasadena to West Texas State University, where the likes of, well, you guys are too young, Mercury Morris, Dwayne Thomas, the guys who all played in the NFL, about 9 guys. So he played in the NFL. So we bounced around and landed back in Waco, and where I call home. And so we landed back, and then I went to Midway High School, the greatest high school in the great state of Texas, and certainly very proud of my high school, who, by the way, is in the third round of the playoffs right now in baseball as we're speaking.
They're killing it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm not gonna lie to you. And so anyway, and then took off to the University of Texas to play baseball for legendary and truly one of the great men in my life, Cliff Gustafson. And all that Coach Gus did for me in my life, and then bounced around in the coaching world like my dad a little bit, and went to Arkansas State with a name you guys would recognize, Bill Bethea, who's in the Hall of Honor at the University of Texas. Absolutely. And went to be his assistant at Arkansas State. Coach Bethea, I love you. I truly owe him a lot in my life as well. And then became a head coach because I thought that's really what my life path was supposed to be at a young age, probably too young of age.
It's in the blood, right?
Right? 25, 26 years old at Northeast Texas Community College in Mount Pleasant, Texas. And it was an unbelievable experience because I was a dorm, head of the dorms, and a baseball coach, and it smelled like chickens, and because of Pilgrim's Pride. And because we were able to beat a lot of people and then won a national title there, actually.
I love that. That's your secret weapon is unleash the chicken smell.
It was. Well, remind me one of these days, it has to be this show. I'll tell you guys again, if you guys ever invite me back. There's a tremendous story between Skip Johnson and I about chickens. Skip was the head coach at Navarro College at the time. And one of these days, I will maybe pull him on here. It is one of the funniest stories you've ever heard of in your life. And today you couldn't do it. And so, but anyway, it was a great story. And then bounced around and landed and went to Blinn. And thank you, Dusty Hart. They won their first national title a year ago. And a lot of UT players and some other guys that are spread out from Blinn and that are playing, affecting Division I baseball as we speak. And then landed at Southwest Texas State. Lord, and did nobody know? I'll tell you a really quick story, and I'll let you guys take over. I talk too much. So,
that's why we got you here, my friend.
I know that, but I talk too much. Well, what's crazy is I tell people this is true. I didn't speak till I was 13 years old, and that is the God honest truth.
Really?
And so, I was so incredibly bashful and shy. And but anyway, so I was offered the job at the time, thought I was going to be offered the job at Southwest Texas State. I interviewed, and Jim Wacker, the late great Jim Wacker, who's truly one of the finest men you've ever experienced in your life in person. And I was sitting at the coffee table at my house in Brenham, Texas, and I was torn as to whether I wanted to take the job or not. Junior college baseball was different then. They had a thing called the draft and follow. And, I'd already signed, 14 guys that had been drafted. And, just Josh Beckett, a lot of people, Ty Harrington, and, different guys that went the first and second rounds that year. So anyway, the junior college baseball was different. Not saying it's any better, it just was a different time at that point. And I was having a hard time making a decision whether I was going to take the job or not. I was making more money at Blinn than I was going to make at Southwest Texas, and I had a bigger coaching staff. Oh. And so it was a different time. And I was sitting across from my dad, and who was alive at the time, and truly the greatest man in my life, without any question whatsoever. And somebody I had aspired to be like daily. And he sat across the table, and the phone was ringing. And on the caller ID, it tells you how long ago it was. On the caller ID, it said, Jim Wacker, and a 512 number. And I was like, Dad, I don't know. And he was like, son, you always wanted to be a head coach in Division I baseball. Not everybody gets a chance. There's only X amount of Division I jobs. And so I answered the phone and said, Coach, I'd love to be the head coach at Southwest Texas. And
right then and there.
From then on, it was, life in San Marcos, Texas.
Well, it turned out pretty well for you. You ended up there for 20 years, from 2000 to 2019. Coach, I got to say this, you're the winningest coach in program history there. So pretty impressive stuff. You brought Texas State. Oh, we call it Texas State. I love hearing you call it Southwest Texas.
Right.
It's the old logo, the SWT will always is burned in my brain there. But you ended up with Southwest Texas and Texas State with a 657 to 516-2 record. So incredibly impressive. 3 NCAA tournament appearances, 2 Southland Conference baseball tournament championships, 3 Southland Conference baseball regular season championships. And again, I mean, you are a legendary Longhorn, but also a legendary Bobcat. So it's, we were talking offline a little bit earlier, and when people ask you, okay, so who do you pick? Who do you root for? Who do you cheer for? You had a great answer. You mind sharing that with us here?
I'm the luckiest man in the world. Everybody, and I think Rocky, you enjoyed 2 degrees, one from the University of Texas and one from Texas State as well. I don't have a degree from Texas State, but was employed there for 20 years, and so I'm lucky. Like my heritage, and I think that's an okay statement. My heritage is the University of Texas. Because I was lucky enough to play baseball at the University of Texas. And let me tell you something about the University of Texas. They choose you. You don't choose them, in my opinion. They choose you. And at that point in time in the 80s, for sure, it was an unbelievable time in my life. And it was the beginning of it was the beginning footprint of college baseball too, and we'll get to that a different time. But the so that was my heritage, and will always be. I will always have a chance. And when I decided to go to school there, I didn't know at the time. Originally, I was going to Baylor to play football and baseball, like my dad had done. And then when Coach Gus called, and I was at Target, originally Target, one of the only ones in the state of Texas buying fishing lures to go fishing with my buddies on spring break. And my mom drove up there and came and got me and said, "Hey, son, Coach Gus is going to call you at 10:30." And I was like, "Mom, we're headed down to the Bosque River to go fishing." And,
No, you're not.
yeah, right, right. And she was like, "No, you need to come. You need to come home." And so I did, and it was the first time I'd ever talked to Coach Gus, and different time, different places, right? And so that choice changed my life in so many ways. There were a lot of other places. I wasn't a great player at the University of Texas. My claim to fame is I was the captain of the '87 team. I participated in 3 national championship games as a player, 1 as a coach, and that's more than most people ever get. Get to do. I'm sorry, not get to do. But what changed my life was that university, and the people around that university. Coach Gus, Coach Bethea, who helped create my coaching career. My teammates still are, some of the most valuable and some of the most important people in my life. And so, a lot of people throw the word love around and easily, right? And sometimes it's fake, sometimes it's real, or sometimes it's not even something just to make somebody feel good. But there's a true meaning to that in my teammates from the University of Texas. So that's what I mean by my heritage.
Yeah.
I will always have a home, and I will always have a group of people associated with that, with my teammates. And then I got an opportunity for Texas State, or then Southwest Texas. They gave me an opportunity to live a dream as a head coach in Division I baseball and to provide a living for my family. And so when you put that together, that's why I truly consider myself crazy lucky. Some people say, "Don't you got to choose?" No, I'm fortunate I don't. Like I truly don't. And
I love that.
I'm lucky now that I get to do TV for both. I get to root for both passionately. And I always felt like, and this statement doesn't have to be right for anybody else but me, but I always think people should be grateful and appreciative of the places that have given them opportunities and the people that have given them opportunities. I didn't build the University of Texas. That place is going to be here long before the 3 of us, and anybody that's ever worn orange and white is going to be there long after that, right? I didn't build Texas State or Southwest Texas. There've been so many people before, and there'll be so many people after. So to me, it was an opportunity, and I will always be grateful and appreciative of the places that have given me those types of opportunities to live my dream, and also to provide for my family. And the last piece of that is to meet some of the most incredible people anyone ever could ask for. And both those places gave me that chance.
That's truly special. I love hearing that. And I think that's something that is just a universal truth. Anybody that's truly loved the university and been a part of it, you're there for a small amount of time in our lives, and it has this profound effect. Whether you played there, you coached there, you got your degree there, you're an avid fan. It really is incredible to me how being a part of the university has affected so many and had profound effects. I met my best friend, right? I met Rocky because of our love for Texas. I've met some of the most wonderful people in the world. Heck, I get to meet you because of our love for Texas. So it's
100%.
It's a special place, that's for sure. We say it a lot, Texas is family, but it's the truth. And hearing you speak so warmly of folks that you met and that gave you your opportunity there, that just to me really solidifies that family feel. So well, I wanted to touch on something before we jump too far out. You had mentioned you were with JUCO before, and a little bit different time. How do you feel about how, that's starting to evolve a little bit more? It used to be the University of Texas would not take JUCO players, right? You got picked up and that was it. But that's kind of changed. Of course, we saw that with Ivan Melendez, the Hispanic Titanic, having such an impact at Texas. And it seems like bigger D1 universities are using that JUCO route more. Can you speak to that a little bit, Coach, and how you've seen that change, from your time coaching there to where we are today and the shifts?
Yeah, there were always a few junior college players that I played with that San Jack at the time, Seminole College at the time, were McLennan were putting out different players, and there were a few, and they were to fill stopgaps if you were losing a junior player to the draft or a senior and you needed an older player to fill in those spots, and so that had an effect on it. But they've always been a part to some level, and as you mentioned, some more often than others in years and in timing. But a lot of it is you want, or you would love to have as a coach, an older team. There needs to be a stat that I would love to see, and I'm not equipped to do it. Somebody is. There's always a data for something, right? I mean, somebody's got a data for every time you get up and go to the restroom, but somebody's got a data for, how many championships have been won by older teams? How many conference championships have been won? How many national championships have been won by older teams? I think most coaches would tell you a lot. I don't know what that number is. So my point is that you use the junior college route to, replace somebody that you left, that you knew you were getting an older, player. When I mean by older, at least a junior, more than likely 20, 21 years old. More importantly, 500 at bats.
Right.
On the mound.
That maturity, that experience. Yeah.
On the mound, somebody that, has probably had 30 starts. Whatever that number is. It probably varied at different times, obviously. But now it's changed. Now the age has changed to the portal.
That's what I was just going to ask you next.
Yeah.
How is that?
No, go ahead.
Transfer portal. Right now, the transfer portal, they can monitor and modify their roster every season, right? Every semester, every couple semesters, and bring in experience who have those at bats and those those starts that you were talking about. How is that different now? Have you seen a difference?
Tremendously. Now, I would say this: when I got to Southwest Texas, I'm gonna be brief with this. When I got to Southwest Texas, we had the one-time transfer rule. The difference was, what I mean by that, in baseball, not football, not basketball, but in baseball, you had a one-time transfer rule, and it could be at semester, mind you. But the athletic director and the coach had to sign the release. So there was a difference to it. Now, the temptation for coaches today are obvious. Going back to what we just discussed, do you want to get beat with a younger team trying to develop them because you're going to be playing against a team, particularly in the SEC, that's going to be average age 21, 20, I don't know what the data is, but an older team, juniors and seniors that have a ton of at-bats, a ton of Division I at-bats, maybe even a ton of Division II at-bats, or a senior that has, even 4 years of practice experience, has a red shirt. Now he's coming up on his 5th year. Even though he was practicing with Division I hitters that year, he read whatever that might be. So the temptation for coaches, when I say the temptation, the reality for a coach, not temptation, the reality is, do I want to get, what is that combination of, having an Adrian Rodriguez, right? Who is a special talent, a really special talent as a hitter. And do I want to have, an experience, with a Dylan Volantis, right? 100% I do. Those guys are beasts. And, right? But finding
of the year.
Yes, but finding those guys
is, you know, a little bit different, and getting them to come in nowadays is probably for them as players a little more exciting and doable, as opposed to them being late round drafts. You know, back when the draft went out to 40, 50 rounds, and
Right.
somebody signing for look, and when I say $100,000, making it sound like it's not a big deal, it is. $100,000 is a lot of money to anybody, or at least it is to me. And you know, or $200,000. But now you combine the portal, you combine a freshman coming in that would have been a late round draft, and you know, he has a chance to make that kind of money going to a Division I school. And I've gotten off track all of a sudden again from the portal to this.
No, I love NIL. Absolutely.
It's all tied together. Yeah.
It is. And so let's answer the first question. The portal part. Older lineups, older experience on the mound is probably what you're seeing a lot of. The best of the best, and a lot of programs, like, you know, a lot of SEC programs and some Power 5 schools, and some Sun Belt schools too, because in baseball, they've been, you know, 3 and 4 teams in the NCAA. You'll see some really high energy, high quality freshmen playing. But you'll also see a lot of older lineups, you know, transfers from wherever it might be. You can watch Twitter tonight, okay? Guys that didn't qualify for conference tournaments, watch Twitter next week, or however you want to find your news feed about college baseball players that are entering the portal. I love that, you know, they put on there, I appreciate my 3 years, my 2 years, my 4 year, wherever it may be. I agree with that. I think it's a polite way to do it and a respectful way to do it. But you start watching it over the next few weeks, and the quality of players that are getting into the portal that are going, hey, look, I always dreamt of playing at the University of Texas. I always dreamt of playing at Texas State, using 2 schools that are close to me. I've always dreamt of playing at Beta, whatever it might be, wherever it might be. And guys have an opportunity to do that. It is the landscape of college baseball today. And that's college sports, I'm sorry, today. And so coaches have to manage it. Coaches got a roster management is probably one of the biggest things today.
Yeah,
that's true. We're already seeing softball players go into the portal today and yesterday. Teams that were eliminated, already some players are putting their names. So it's that evolution. It's going to be happening. Yep. Sorry, Megan.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, I mean, I think this is very relevant to today in any sport, right? You never have an off season. Yeah. Now we know that coaches are always working, but it feels like it is kicked into overdrive. But you know, Coach, to your point, you were bringing up, you know, you alluded to the NIL situation. You're right. I mean, I remember there were several Texas players that 10 years ago, you know, would have stayed at Texas had NIL been around, where they have the opportunity to make that money instead of jumping into the grind of the minor leagues, right? You get signed, you've got that grind of minor leagues, and that's a long road to hoe. It really is. That's a tough place to be. So yeah, I think it's changed. Go ahead, please.
Yes, really brief. I'm going to be brief on this. Number one, I think the players. I think the player. That's a good point, by the way. I think the players deserve. I think they deserve to. Right? We've been dealing with 11.7. 11.7 in college baseball forever, or not forever, since the 90s. Right? Before that, it was 15, and before that, it was 18. But and I hit all 3 of those as a player and a coach, and I hit all the legal drinking age about the same way too, 18, 19, and 21. Just throwing that in there.
Yeah, but, just right.
Yeah, right or wrong, however I look at it now, right? But the point is that it's 11-7. These guys deserve it. Like, you go out to the ballpark and there was thousands of people engaged watching these games and paying attention to this. And so, yes, they deserve, you know, to be compensated. Yes, a scholarship is special, 100%. You're one of the 1%, right? Or whatever percent, I don't know what it is. Yes, but, you know, the popularization of sports and what it does for a university, I always felt like, man, they need something. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how much it was. but I always felt like their name and what they're doing was special, right? And it needed to be, something for it. I don't know what that, again, I didn't know what that number was. But the part now that I love about it, and people are going to contest this, and that's okay, is that it's making college baseball even better.
Yeah.
Because we have players that would have been, and who knows where, North Dakota playing in rookie ball or Sarasota, wherever that is, and that's okay too. That's a privilege. But I'm not in professional baseball. I love college baseball, and this has made it so much better. The game is unreal right now. Are you kidding me? The players that we're watching week in and week out, 92 to 98 miles an hour. We're watching some of the best hitters and around, and the cleanest defense and base running, and it's just some of the most exciting stuff. If you're a baseball lover, you're like, you guys are spoiled now. You guys are watching this stuff, and you're like, holy cow, this is unreal, right? And so yeah, and I'm grateful that more players are staying in college baseball. Professional baseball has said, okay, let's let college baseball develop these guys. Let's give them, because you got coaches like Jim Schleisnagel. You got coaches all over the great sport of college. All these coaches, they got great staff. Universities are now spending more resources towards college baseball than ever. Coaching staffs, analytics, facilities, the list goes on and on, the resource. And because of that, pro baseball said, you guys can develop it. And then after their junior year or senior year, we'll give them millions of dollars.
We'll take over.
They're ready. These guys are ready. The strength and conditioning and all the above. And so I get off on going on a tirade about this because this part of that has made college baseball, what I obviously passionate about, the greatest game there is right now, because we're getting some of the best players around too.
Well, I agree with that. I think it's no coincidence that you're seeing sports. I mean, this affects women's sports too, right? Softball, volleyball is going through a golden age right now. College baseball is gaining so much popularity, and that's not by chance. That's not a coincidence. You're seeing the quality of players coming through, the quality of the conditioning and the training and the coaching. All of it is being elevated, in my opinion, because of things like the portal, because of things like NIL. Now, yes, we are still kind of in the Wild West, right? There may be some bumpers or some guide rails need to be put in place at some point, but in a day and age where we just saw, what was that insane contract? Baseball contracts are just getting more and more nuts. I agree with you wholeheartedly that it makes sense that the players have a piece of that. It's a multi-billion-dollar, college athletics is a multi-billion-dollar business. And if you don't have your name, you have nothing. And previously, college players didn't have the rights to their own names. So I love hearing that. It's a breath of fresh air. You've had such an incredible background as a player, as a coach. Hearing you speak about the positive sides of that, I think is wonderful to highlight. And I think people sometimes focus on that negative and focus on I didn't get it, and it's ruining sports, but it's not. It's clearly elevating the sport.
Well, they want guardrails, right? I think that was the word I was looking for. And we need them. We need some, let's bring it in a little bit. Do I think it's, a challenge for coaches? And do I think that there's the word out there that people, there's no more loyalty. Look, that's a tough thing, right? And that's the piece that nobody really wants to discuss very often, right?
Sure.
And I totally get it. Would I be upset if I worked with a kid for 2 years at a school and then all of a sudden he decided he went, yes, in the same breath, let's be fair. If somebody came to me or came to somebody else as a coach and said, but we're going to give you a job at such and such, are you going to take it? Yeah. I mean, are they going to give you more money? Yeah. I mean, so I totally respect I want you guys to understand, and anybody that picks up this podcast, I totally respect the idea of loyalty more than most people would ever know. Because in my lifetime, I've been loyal to a fault, and I believe in that, and I do think people, when you take somebody on, you pour your heart into them, you want something back, right? And or you hope for the best for them to give something back to that cause. And I think it's a tough conversation for a lot of people to have. And I do think that there are, regulations, if that's the right word, that word is different to a lot of people, right? That makes me think that, I don't know what I think, but when I hear that, but there are guidelines, there's a better word, there's a guidelines, because we all need some guidelines for anything we do when it's competitive, because we'll all push the envelope. We're all, right?
That's true. I used to race, and it was always you got away with everything you could until you got caught, right?
Yeah.
So
right. I mean, the golf ball behind the tree all of a sudden wasn't, and how do you look at it? But
it's a legitimate conversation for everybody to have and to feel one way or another. But the reality is that my piece of this is I appreciate the loyalty. I appreciate, all the above. But I also appreciate that where college baseball is today, and how much it's grown, how popular it is. You guys would not have involved somebody like me in a conversation tonight on a podcast had college baseball not just been, where it is today. And I'm grateful and thankful that it is. And I'm grateful and thankful that they're going to create some guidelines. And I'm grateful and thankful that college athletics is just on fire right now. I mean, it truly is.
You mentioned earlier about how because there is an investment in the athlete, their development, the financial investment, they have an opportunity to stay in college and make good money, and they don't have to go, like we talked about earlier, go to not the best circumstances while they develop, in a lower league. Also, do you see? I wanted to ask you about like these early enrollees who are leaving high school early to get into that picture of that development. I mean, the star of the season, early enrollee, has been, Jonah Williams. But have you, over the last few years of, coaching and then, following and reporting on it, what have you seen as far as not just the players being able to stay in college longer, but trying to get to college quicker?
Yeah, and Jonah, oh my God, what an athlete! I mean, oh my gosh, somebody's got to really convince me he's young. I mean, he is just unreal athleticism, and athletic. And I think that for baseball, I've only known of a couple situations where that happened, where it was just a baseball player. I just more common in football. For guys to come after their fall, they graduate on early. Let me say this: anytime anybody graduates from anything, I'm a fan of that too. By the way, but I do think that's important in our life development. And we just have never really a handful of circumstances in baseball where we've had that. In football, I think it's quite a bit more common. Guys come in and go through spring football. And then in this situation, we have a two sport athlete like Jonah, because you guys brought him up. He's just a special athlete. He really is. And I mean, how exciting has that young man been to watch this year? And he brings a football mentality into the dugout. We're getting the crowd fired up. And and he's just, hey, in football you get to play 12 times. Right, and excluding playoffs, which is what we're doing here in Texas now. But you get 12 times, maybe 14, 15, 16 times, and college baseball is 56, 60 something, and sometimes it's refreshing to see somebody get fired up on game 50, and right?
Truly. Well. And let's talk about this a little bit. I love this Jonah Williams topic. Recently, he went viral for his passion, we'll say. Texas was not having the best game. and we see Jonah up at bat, and he's, hyping up, he's pumping his chest, he's real excited, trying to get some energy going. Got lambasted online for it, to be honest, because of the score of the game. I would love your take on that. I certainly have opinions. I know Rocky certainly has opinions about that. Ty, we'd love to hear what you think about that.
I'm going to tell you mine, but I want to hear yours.
Sure.
You tell me I want to hear yours.
I love it. I'm here for
Okay.
it. I think this kid, and it would have been different if this was a one-time occurrence for him. But if you have been watching Jonah Williams every time that he's in, he is like that every single at bat, every single pitch. He's down in the dugout in games he's not even playing in. He's hyping up. He's raising his hands. He's jumping around. He's the guy. I mean, he's a 17-year-old kid that is just full of life and excited and full of energy. So for me, I love seeing it. I get hyped up as a fan watching him every single time pound his chest, and he owns it too. If he takes a bad pitch, that's on me. That's on me. He looks at his dugout, looks at his team. That's on me. That's on me. All right, let's go. Let's go. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Rocky, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so before the season started, we interviewed Oliver Service we had that on the show. Megan had a great interview with him, and Megan asked him like who in the dugout or who on the team is the fiery personality, and he mentioned, and this was a week on campus, as a 17-year-old, a week on campus, he mentioned Jonah Williams. He's called out Jonah Williams as the personality, right? So we knew coming in that Jonah Williams was going to be that fiery, passionate. And of course, you don't get to be, one of the top recruits in football and baseball and all these things if you don't have a little passion about you, right? So I love that excitement. If he had got up there all droopy and sad, he would have gotten crap out too. So I love that he's trying to say, we're down, we're not out. We're down, we're not out. And you need that. You need those personalities that want to keep fighting. And if grown adults are going to get on their keyboard and cry about a young man trying to pump up his team, that says more about them than him. But I think the most telling statement after that was on those bases loaded game, the second game against OU on the road with the series on the line. Coach Schloss puts in Jonah, and I was like, that's a lot to ask of him, but at the same time, you want that man that knows he can go in there. It believes it. He believes it, and put him out there in that spot. And I think that said a lot about how much they believe in him, which shows how much he should keep believing in himself. It's a lot of confidence for a young man, and you don't want to derail any of that. So those are our thoughts. We'd love yours.
Yeah. No, I love it. Look, there's so many unwritten rules in baseball sometimes, right? There's too many unwritten rules in baseball. First of all, you start talking about don't bunt down 6 runs or 7 runs and stuff like that. Don't steal, but yet all of a sudden with an aluminum bat, you come back, right? And then, so there's so many things about the game that it needs to evolve a little bit, right? And because you never tell your players to quit playing. You shouldn't, right? You should never tell your players to quit playing hard and keep exhausting their spirit. You should always, you want them to, because if they're still playing hard, then they're getting something out of their effort. And they're going to learn, even if they got beat, they're going to learn something out of their effort. And at the end of the day, when you go home, that you're giving your effort. But I would tell you this, one of the things that I think you guys recognize is that the dugout was in complete support of, you saw the excitement from them, right? That tells you what the most important piece of all of this is, tells you what his teammates think about him. It tells you what that dugout thinks about him. And, look, as a coach, you always want your kids to be passionate and fired up. Are there pieces of it that, as a coach, or that you get concerned about, and this is real, that, does somebody I love the idea that somebody is playing hard. Look, I want somebody to keep playing hard. Is it, baseball, does it get caught up in its, different pieces of, you can't do this at this time or that time? it probably gets caught up in that sometimes too, right?
That's fair.
I've never understood the big league why they brawl. Those are millionaires out there getting in a fight. I've never understood that piece. I gotta be honest with you. I've never understood, somebody
like
taking a swing at a guy's got $40 million in his pocket.
Well, it's like the
Yeah.
Bull Durham quote, right? Like, you're a pitcher, never hit with your throwing hand. What are you doing out there? I
Yeah.
agree. It's well, and to kind of wrap up the Jonah thing. I love hearing you as a coach saying you want your players to play with passion. I agree. There's unwritten rules. I mean, obviously, but I find it ironic that people who, the bat flip thing, right? That's a
Yeah.
heated topic. But the unwritten rule of baseball, if somebody does something that pisses you off, it's okay to throw a 100-mile-an-hour ball at their head.
Yeah, that's not
If you've got
right.
that mentality, right? If you've got that mentality, then I don't see how a 17-year-old kid hyping up his team, trying to get some energy, is going to offend your delicate sensibilities. Right?
Well, let me answer something really quick. All right. So number one, you never tell anybody to throw any. I've thought that was the craziest rule of baseball. And look, I didn't play in the big league, so whoever's listening to this, that it wasn't a big leagues in professional baseball, I respect your opinion. I do. I did not. I was not good enough to play in that level, and I understand that. But I always thought of it as a weapon. And hitting somebody and throwing at somebody, and you're like, "Holy cow, man! What are we doing here?" Or whatever that might be. But in their mind, it was that was the way you settled the game back down, or that was the way that I don't know, right? And again, those were those unwritten laws, the rules in baseball. But I just the throwing at somebody, you're just like, "Holy cow! It could you could hurt somebody, you could change somebody's career." But on the other hand, that's in the big leagues. That's what you see often enough. That's their game. I didn't play that game, so I don't understand that piece. And whoever's big leaguers watching this will be able to go, "Well, you didn't play." You're 100%. I did not. But my job was with college kids, and I would never tell a college kid to take a baseball and hit somebody. Number one, they don't know how to do it. Right.
Well, unless you're
Honestly.
Texas pitching on accident.
Yeah, but honestly, though,
Texas knows how to hit batters, but they're not trying to. They've had some rough games where they hit a lot of batters.
Yeah, I know. I mean, seriously. But all right, so let's switch gears. Let's talk about the SEC championship.
Yes,
Let's talk about.
team. Yes,
absolutely. Seriously. Are you guys? Is that unreal?
Incredible. So Texas currently sits at 42-11. It is the best inaugural year in SEC history. Texas coming in, taking the SEC by storm. Now, Coach, I don't know about you, but I heard all year that Texas wasn't SEC ready. And just wait till you get to baseball, because every game's a grind. Every game's tough. And it is. I'm not saying it's not. But funny how that script flips when Texas comes in and handles business under a new head coach, first-year coach for Texas. Obviously, we know Coach Schlossnagle is one of the greats, but comes in and just dominates the SEC, for lack of a better term. Pretty incredible. I want to ask, what has been your reaction as a former player, as a former coach? What's been your reaction watching this Texas team? How do you feel about them in the SEC right now?
Yeah, man, it has been so much fun to watch them. So I have a head start. I've known Coach Schlossnagle for 25 years, no, maybe 30. Now that I think about it, now that makes him seem older than he's not, because I am. And Jim's a really forward thinker, and he had 2 seasons, if I'm correct, at A&M in the SEC. So he had an idea of what it looks like. It was a 3.
I think it's 3.
So he had an idea of what it looks like, and he's so organized, so detailed. He allows his coaches to do their job. He goes out and hires the best, and he does such a good job of putting them in a position they go do their thing. And every day is so organized. Those players' routines are so orchestrated and so good for them. And then I watch the vibe that they have around those players. You were talking about the excitement from Jonah and other guys, and Kimball Schuessler,
What an
and the
incredible
job.
story.
I mean, it truly is. One of these days, if somebody is bored and they really want to interview me about, I'm sorry, to allow me to interview him about his path to where he is today and what he has done for the University of Texas through all the setbacks of how he got here, why he got here, and then what he dealt with after he got here to where he is today. It's truly a great story. And in my mind, he has embedded himself in the Texas lore, in my opinion.
1000%. Agreed.
And
No,
yeah, but I'm trying to get off track. So the reality is that nobody could have predicted this. I think people on the baseball world would have gone, look out, kind of thing, right? Who knows, right? They had some older hitters coming back. And I think,
sure.
Coach Slice even admitted that and talked about that. That's the right. Talked about it. And he talked about, they were able to go out in that 10-day period in the portal, and which we talked about earlier, and came up with some really key players, Burns, Volantis, and the list goes on, Mendoza, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
But they were able to bring in
Ruger Riojas. Yeah.
Ruger Riojas, who I've seen throw since he was 16 years old. And because he's right down the road from me. I live in the Brambles. He's right down the road in Wimberley.
Yeah.
That's
And,
my son's cousin.
yeah, right. I mean, the guy's that young man has done, and his growth from an 85-mile-an-hour sidearm guy to where he is today is just spectacular, right? And a credit not just to the coaches doing that, and they're responsible. And even if you go back and look at UTSA, their group did a great job with Ruger, but Ruger did.
Right.
He's a determined young person too, right? I met his dad and after the Texas State game in San Marcos, and got to visit with him briefly. And there's some friends from Wimberley that I have that talked about the family. And so there's so many pieces of this that had to line up through the portal, through the coaching, and I want everybody to understand that what I'm about to say, what Jim and them and his staff have done is incredible. It truly is in the best conference in college sports for college baseball. I'm sorry. What they have done to win the regular season championship. You heard Coach Schleifenegel say that the other day. It's harder than winning a national title. The grind of that is. I truly believe that. The grind of that is. And when he said it, I went, yes. Yes. It's so hard. 10 weeks of just grueling, the baseball and the 3 games and the 95 miles an hour on both sides and the baseball part of it and how competitive all the programs are. It was just back and forth, and I believe that. But to come out on the other side to be the regular season champion, and for them to have that moment in the portal, put those guys together, have a coaching staff coach them, be on the front edge, which I think Jim Schleifenegel is. I think he's one of the best in our business. I truly believe that. For all that to come together is important. But here's the other piece of this. The players had to buy in.
Yes.
They had to buy in, and they had to believe in it. And so on short notice, they had to believe in it. And I believe they did. Go ahead.
I agree. I love that. I feel like this is kind of, I swear, I think you either have ESP or you stole my notes or something, because
I did. I stole them, but that's okay. That's all right. Rocky gave them to me.
I love it. Well,
I just got them too.
Truly. I love that this is all coming together. We talked about Jonah and his enthusiasm, and we talked about how the portal affects, could it affect loyalty? Does it affect loyalty? Coaching matters, right? You see Coach Schloss come in and have an immediate impact. But I wanted to say, I think one of the biggest differences, and we've talked about this on the show before, one of the biggest differences that I've noticed with this baseball team that still has a lot of the core players from last year is just the attitude, right? It felt last year, the dugout was heavy. It was heavy, and there was strain. And now coming in, what it feels like Coach Schloss and his staff has done is really bring the joy back to the game. I know that sounds maybe a bit hyperbolic, maybe it's a little too rainbows and flowers, right? But watching these kids play, they're having fun again, and they truly love each other. Just like you mentioned, you still have a deep love for your teammates that you played with at Texas.
Yep.
and the people that supported you. You really are seeing those bonds. Like Rocky mentioned, we talked to Oliver Service. We've spoken with a lot of the families, with a lot of the players, and there really is, this is a united team, and it is a team that plays for each other and plays. They're just playing reinvigorated, and it's fun to watch. And we've seen this incredible, I don't want to say almost impossible season, but I don't think Vegas would have put any money on what Texas is doing this year. It has been nothing short of incredible. And truly, that's chemistry. That's culture. That's how this team has been built up, and that's because of Coach Schlossnagle and his staff.
Well, winning makes everybody happy.
It's true.
It's part of it.
True.
And so, all right. So, Rocky, give me your thoughts. I just sat there and listened to Megan talk about it. So, tell me what your thoughts on this. Come on.
We can tell who the professional is here.
The difference between last year and this year?
No, just the attitude today. Not doesn't have to be compared. I'm just saying your insight and your thoughts about this team, their culture, their attitude, and how it affects you.
I think so. This year, we've talked about this many times, that they look like they're having fun. We've talked about that. And I think that can go a long way for morale. And like Megan was saying, fighting for each other and competing with each other. This SEC season was a long grind. We saw some weeks there were 7 of the top 10 in the country were SEC teams. Of course, Texas didn't play all of them, but they played a lot of them, and they played a lot of the, really high ranked ones. It's amazing how it really did end up matter. Every game of this SEC season really did end up mattering, like the results. Texas was, an opportunity to maybe share the conference title at the end of the season or outright win it. Other things had to happen. Arkansas had to lose. Other things had to happen, but every game ended up mattering, the win-loss record at the end of the season. And I think that's huge. And I think that's something that they're really going to take into next season too, because you can't let a series down, a game down, a weekend down, and then you add in those Tuesday night games. Last year, the last year of the last coach,
had to bring that up, didn't you?
I'm just saying those were killer and those were brutal, and some of them were pretty embarrassing. But this year, of course, you have those, tough matchups with Texas State and things like that. The schools that come in and, want to play well in Austin. To have the grind of an SEC weekend, and then have to get up and go through a lineup on a Tuesday night over and over. I think I didn't realize till last year how much those Tuesday night games, and I would love your thought, not to get completely off track, but I would love your thought as a coach. Those Tuesday night games, like, every game matters and you want to win every game. But are Tuesdays just to learn and get better and get some new pitchers in the rotation and see what you got, rest some guys? Or do you really need to beat Texas State when they're in Austin on a Tuesday night? Do you know what I mean? Or Texas,
that's a loaded question, Rocky.
I'm just saying,
a loaded question.
What I want to know from the coach, not to get too off track, but
it's not off track.
This reminds me of the grind of the SEC, but you also have those Tuesday night games, and they all matter, right?
Yeah, they all do matter. When you said Tuesday night games the first time you said it in that conversation, I started laughing because Tuesday night games they're part of it. They're part of the structure, and I giggle at it because I laugh at myself more than anybody else when I say this, right? And the Tuesday night games in the great state of Texas. And it truly is the greatest state of all time. In the great state of Texas, college baseball is so big, right? So on a Tuesday night, you can play some of the most unreal competition. You can play, whoever you
proximity wise, you can go play, whatever that looks like. You don't really have to leave the state. You can stay right here and do it and get unreal competition. And you brought up a part of that. You're trying to develop maybe some other guys that you maybe wouldn't use on a weekend, maybe. But the reality is the competition is so good. College baseball is so good right now that you know, I mean, it's Tuesday night. It's a structure of your schedule and part of your RPI and part of your KPI and part of your, hey, you better line up and tie your shoestrings and strap them up and get busy because somebody's trying to come in here and beat you, or you're going to go, whatever that might be. And so it's a structure of development always. It's a structure of trying to win all the time. That's a standard that the University of Texas has had for a long time, and it's a standard that organization has lived by, and it's also part of all the other coaches you know around the state and what they're trying to do. And they're trying, you got to bring your game every night, and Tuesday night you got to treat it, and you know, as well as you can treat it on Friday night. The excitement level, the crowd's not going to be as big more times than not as it would be as a Friday night against Florida. Certainly a Friday night against the Aggies. But all those things, right? But you got to, when coaches tell their players, you got to play hard. Every chance you get to put your uniform on is real. And Tuesday night's the same way. And you got to learn how to do it.
That's absolutely right.
So that's a mentality that comes from the coach, like having the team take that game as seriously and prepare for it and plan for it, just like they would a Friday night conference game.
Yeah, and it's hard, and it's easy to move around that and get to that Friday night emotionally. But I promise you, good coaches get as uptight about a Tuesday night game. They get as geared up
Amped,
for a Tuesday night game as they're going to get geared up for a Friday night game. And sometimes maybe even a little more on Tuesday night because you know that the team's got to be geared up for it. Friday night against the Aggies, you know everybody's geared up. You two are geared up. Everybody's geared up. Right? The whole town's geared up.
That's the truth. That's the truth. It got wild at the Dish over that weekend. I'll tell you, it was something special. Glad that rivalry's back. By the way,
yes.
A&M might not be so much, but
if you guys would have voted for me when I ran for governor, I was going to mandate that the University of Texas and Texas A&M would have to come back and play each other. Just because of just how beautiful it is for our state. I mean, seriously. I mean, just how important it is and it was. And look, I've got cousins that played football. My cousin was an All-American and is in the Hall of Honor at Texas A&M, Shane Leckler. And he and I go back and forth about we love our universities, but we love it when they play against each other too. Well, it's just the way it is.
Truly. Yeah, like I think that's something that's really special about that rivalry is it's in the family, right? We're all Texans. We've
and
all
when
got
you
that.
Still their coach right out from there after their series, championship series, they, you wait. CDC's waiting outside a cemetery.
Snook Cemetery.
And snap their coach when they got
coldest move in all of sports.
And then the next year, their preseason one, probably won't even make the tournament. For the first time ever, a team might be preseason one and not even make the tournament. Meanwhile, with Schloss, coach of the year, Texas wins the SEC. Like, it just couldn't have been written better for Texas and worse for the Aggies in baseball this year.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I want one thing about Jim Schlossnagle, and I'm not saying it because Texas won the SEC this year. It just kind of verifies what my thoughts are. And if you go back and you look at I'm going to say something that doesn't matter. You go back and watch some of the broadcasts. And the reality is Jim is a forward thinker. and he does what he thinks is right.
Yeah.
He's not interested. Well, interest is not the right word. He's going to do what he thinks is right. I was about to say he's not interested in what anybody else thinks. That's not the reality. But the reality is he does what he thinks is right, and he makes the moves that he does. He's a forward thinker. He allows his staff to do their thing. He's not going to be a trend chaser. He's going to be a trend setter. And a lot of people, not everybody, because there are guys that think like he does, and that are successful too. And but he rarely does he get beat to a thought. Rarely does he get beat to an idea, and even more rarely does he get beat to a reaction to a thought. Like if I asked you. Because I have to ask myself, and the answers more times than not aren't very good. If I asked you if you had a thought and you didn't react on it, and you wish you would have, there's a list, more than likely. And if not, you guys are even way more unbelievable than I think you guys are. But for me, it's a punching bag sometimes of different thoughts I had that I didn't react on, that I thought were right. But somebody else said they may not be right yet, and so I credit Jim for that, and the way he does things. I truly do, because it takes people to believe and really believe in what they think and how they're going to do it. He made a comment to me, and this has been a couple of weeks ago, about something totally. We were talking about something different. I'm not going to get into that piece of it, but it was good. But he just said, look. If you think you're right and it doesn't work out, doesn't mean it was wrong. And that's true in life, right? Mm-hmm. And if you think something's right and you believe in your heart and you've got something to back it up, whether it's data and or knowledge or wisdom, even better, and it doesn't work out, doesn't mean it was wrong, right? So you still do it, and so. That's an insight to the way great people and great thinkers think and how they react to things.
That reminds me of putting Jonah in that. I keep coming back to this, putting Jonah in that bases loaded. In the moment, it was the right decision, right? It didn't work out. Jonah wasn't the hero of the game, but in the long run, that's going to pay off. That kind of pressure situation, team counting on him, those kind of things are going to pay off later. So there was people debating, was that the right thing to do, this and that, but in his mind at that moment, that was the right thing to do. And
yep.
And it wasn't just Jonah, right? Like he brought in Jaquay, he brought in Chamberlain, and Jonah. I mean, it was. I'll be the first one to say, as a fan, I'm going, what are we doing here? What are we doing now? Jonah had a great at bat. It didn't pan out, but Jonah really did have a great at bat there for sure. So, again, Ty, we know that your time is valuable. Yeah. We have a few more questions for you. If you're here with us for a little bit longer, we'd love it.
Come on, let's get busy. I got to cook dinner.
I know it. We're hungry. We're drinking. I hear you. And I did want to ask you about the SEC tournament. Texas has now clinched the SEC regular season by quite a bit. Now we're getting into tournament play. As a coach, as a scholar of the game, I wanted to ask, what are your feelings on this tournament? Is there benefit for Texas going in and winning it out? Is there benefit for Texas losing the first game as a single elimination tournament? What are your thoughts on this? Is it a good tournament to play in?
The rest.
Need the rest? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that you can gain out of this, which is what, they've earned the right to choose how they want to go into this tournament, meaning they don't have to win this tournament. Do we as competitors want to win something? Do we as competitors want to go and win it? Yeah, we love that, right? What the culture he has put in to that program is, hey, fellas, if we get off the bus, we're going to win. We're not going to just hang out and high five the other team and congratulate them. We're going to win. So there is that mentality that exists, but you get the opportunity if you're banged up and you're dinged up to sit some guys and give them a chance to catch their breath. If there's some arms that are tired, it gives you the opportunity to not overexpose them going into the tournament or in the tournament, because your next reality is you've won the SEC championship. Your next reality is you want to win. You want to go to Omaha, and you want an opportunity to win a national championship. So when I keep saying the word forward thinker, Coach Schlossnagle is, and his staff is, and all of those guys are, and Troy, all those guys, and Nolan, they start looking at what does that look like for next week in the regional? What does that look like if we can win that and go to the super regional? What does that look like? In this time of year, people get tired. College
Galvan's
athletes
beat up, right? Galvan's beat up, man.
Yeah, and so if you can get rid of it,
A-Rod takes a beating.
Yeah.
A-Rod gets hit with a pitch every game.
Yeah. Look, you make that choice when you get back there, unfortunately.
That's
and
fair.
that's why he's so tough. And that's why he's so gritty. And that's also, his mentality is tough too. But so you get a chance to rest some guys if you need to get them healthy. But whoever is going in there is going to lace up their shoes and get ready to go win. And, because they're going to put that uniform on with the idea that we're going to go try to win too. You'd like to get Max Ballou a lot of at bats.
Yeah.
To get him ready. Hitting is the hardest, one of the hardest things in sports. And you got to see enough pitches to do it. That young man fascinates me to no ends. What he did, he was sick going into opening weekend of the year, and he hit nothing but a couple doubles and a homer, and just and didn't get to have a ton of at bats getting ready for it. So if something like that, try, but you can also inter squad if something happened and you didn't win, and because it is single elimination, you have the option that when you get home you can get some at bats too. But I think they're going to go in there because and do again. This team is trained to go do their very best every chance they can. And but they have options as far as they're not going to I would be shocked if they overexpose themselves, in a tournament situation that they don't have to at this point. They've earned the right to, if they don't want to play somebody that's hurt right now, that normally you would have to play to try to win it, because you have to win it. That's different.
Yeah, I agree. Texas has proven it. I as a fan, I am absolutely overjoyed that at this point in the season, we are talking about Texas potentially being a number 1 overall seed going into regionals, going into supers. I agree with you. I mean, this team is more than proven their worth, proven that they can do it when it matters in the toughest baseball conference in the nation. So nothing short of absolutely incredible with what Coach Schloss has done this year at Texas.
Yep.
So
100%.
All right, Coach, we got a few more questions and then we're out. We'll let you go. We're going to do
short answers. I'm ready.
Answers, couple rapid fires. Is this Texas team a national championship caliber team?
Winning a national championship is really hard. You got to be incredibly fortunate. The best team I ever played on was 1985. And we got beat in the national championship game. Being the last person standing is so hard. And people get to celebrate when you win a national title. What they should celebrate all along with winning a national title and anything is just how challenging the process is, and just how fortunate you have to be. Injuries, timing, health, just there's so many there's so many things that go into winning a national championship. Do I think they have an opportunity to win one? Yes. Because look at what they've done so far. What would make me think that they don't have a chance at this point after winning the regular season SEC championship? But winning a national championship is so special, and it's such a challenge to be the last person standing, and that is a special thing. And yes, but it is really, really hard to do that.
Yep,
All right,
Good.
I have a question. So I've learned so much from listening to you as a commentator. I feel so much smarter watching baseball. Megan and I were having a conversation one time about Galvan being down on one knee and catchers now being down on one knee. And one night you were talking and you explained the whole thing, and I was like, Megan,
Yeah.
he explained it, so now I understand. But we have a question. Since you have a career as a coach and now you have a career as a commentator, which one what are the pros and cons? Do you have a favorite? Do you prefer one? Is one more enjoyable? Do you?
Let's say this. I truly loved my time as a coach. The one-on-ones and the the pure satisfaction and the pure love of watching the young man that you bring in and graduate and or go on to play pro ball and watch them develop and that day-to-day interaction with them. I mean, I'm going to a wedding Saturday for one of my former players. That part I truly missed. I knew I would the moment I handed my keys in. I knew that, I was going to miss that part. I'd still miss it. And, miss that interaction with players. I miss that part where you win. And everybody's, so, excited and everybody, that jubilation. There are parts of me that miss, when you lose, what do you got to do the next day? Or that next moment, right? To make things. When I say parts, there are parts of it that you could control and some you couldn't. But I miss that part of trying to figure that out. What was next? And so the coaching part of it, I will always miss. It will always be a part of my life. It'll always be a part of my identity, good, bad, or indifferent. And but the part that has evolved and changed about the game is these guys are really these guys are. I mean, we in a 52-week weekend we were working 40 something weekends a year, and that's a lot. And I'm lucky. I've got three daughters. I have an older daughter that's on her own who is killing it in the medical field, and it's
Amazing.
just, yeah, she's a Texas State grad, and she is truly unreal. And then I have younger daughters. I have one that's a junior in high school and one that is a freshman in high school. And I have three beautiful daughters and three beautiful women. And they probably need more of dad than probably what I gave my oldest. And because this game is so demanding
Yeah.
and the time of it is a challenge. So it doesn't mean it can't be done by other coaches. It can, and they organize their time better. But the commentating allows me to have my baseball fix, to stick around the game, be around the game. You guys, you truly made. I swear to you, and this is not a makeup. You guys made my night when you talked about. You give us a different outlook on the game, and you enjoy it. And I truly cannot tell you how appreciative and how grateful I am. And really, what that means when watching a kid grow up as a player. I just got the same feelings from you guys telling me, hey, we enjoy listening to you when you do the broadcast. So I'm grateful and thankful for you two guys saying that and how much that means to me. And so the commentating part of it is I see it from a different view probably than maybe some people. I see it from a coach's view, and I enjoy that part of it, and I'm sure there are people who don't. I mean, it's just part of it, and but I do enjoy it. I do like it, and it gives me my baseball fix, and then my stomach doesn't hurt nearly as bad after a game as it used to.
That's fair. That's fair.
And that's real. I mean, honestly, goodness, it's real. And I've told a handful of coaches that have retired and that have gotten out of it, or different things have changed in their life too, and that I hope that they'll get into it as well, because I want to see everybody do good. I do, and hopefully they'll get a chance to do the same thing.
And but I enjoy the commentating, and again, look, not just because you guys invited me on your show, I truly appreciate the kind words, and it is different, but in the same breath, I will share this with this show and with you guys. I had not fallen out of love with baseball.
Sure.
When I got out, we won the Sun Belt Conference Championship my last year. And I'm so grateful to the players and what that meant. But I had a burr in my saddle about the game at different times. It can happen. And when I got a chance to get back in, when I got a chance to get into the broadcast side of it, and I got to watch the game from a different view, from a different seat. If I didn't fall back in love, I've always been in love with it. But it re-engaged my love for the game, and it re-engaged my love for college baseball and the people involved with it, the players, the coaches, administrators, fans probably going, they make this thing so special. And it re-engaged my love for it and for the people around it. And for that, I'm always grateful and appreciative of those opportunities. And, hopefully there are times I can bring things out that somebody gathers out of a game that makes them, think differently about the game or understand something differently and or cuss me, either way. And but it is truly, I'm gonna say this and in it because I got to cook dinner. And, is that I truly what you guys what we're all getting to experience about this game right now. The game is just so incredible, and we have older baseball players, we have younger baseball players, we have more exciting baseball players, we have coaches we have more coaches, we have more support staff, we have more money, more resources, more facilities, more fans, all of this to just keep piling on, in my opinion, the greatest sport there is, and that's college baseball. And it's bigger and it's better than it's ever been, and it's more exciting than it's ever been. And I'm sitting here with two fascinating women discussing just how incredible it is and just how fun it is and just how many people are engaged with this great sport. And I'm grateful to just be a itty bitty part of it, but to get to enjoy it like so many people are getting an opportunity to today.
Well, Coach, we can say truly and honestly, the sport is better because you are a part of it. The commentary, you truly you bring so much education. Maybe the coach retires, but you can't take the coaching out of the man, and that
Right.
truly that shines through in your commentary. And as Rocky said, and I will echo these sentiments. You teach, you make it engaging. You are truly a joy to listen to, and college baseball is better because you are a part of it. So we truly appreciate you. We truly appreciate you joining us. We know you're hungry, so
I am.
will. We are gonna say this now.
Thank
we got
you.
more questions for you, but that just means we got to have you back on this show, my friend.
How about let's do this? We'll do this as the season goes. As the season goes on, we're in postseason now. When we get into the thick of the even more postseason, I'd love to come on and certainly come on again. Quan Cosby was 100% right about you guys on this show and how much fun it's been. I appreciate it, and I appreciate it. But I got one last question for you guys. And you guys have a question. Fire the Cannon came from what?
The cannon.
Old Smokey.
Oh,
You got to fire the cannon every time.
You are talking.
Great.
You were talking to a Texas Cowboy.
Oh, I love it.
So when you act,
your heart.
Yeah. So when you said that, they fired a can. I was like, yeah, all right, I'm in. And
Well, again, Ty Harrington, thank you so much for being here. You are forever considered a friend of the show.
Yep.
We will have you back anytime that you would like to join us. This has truly been a delight. We appreciate you being here. We'll let you get to your supper. For now, I'm Megan.
I'm Rocky.
And y'all, this has been Ty Harrington on Fire the Cannon. We appreciate you. Till next time, hook 'em.
Thank you guys. Hook 'em horns.
Thank you so much.